computer, share screen, those buttons. There we go. So yeah, these two guys. So to add these again, you want to go to the build.gradle file and just add these 2 lines to your code. I'll go ahead and copy paste them into the Zoom chat. Copy. Chat.
Got it.
Oh God, Emilio. I just saw Emilio post about Taco Bell. Nice. Probably very true. So yeah, we want to add those to our project. But as I said before, the problem that this does by adding these as is one of the default behaviors of the Spring Boot security system, the out-of-box behavior. So since Spring Boot and Spring Boot Web is considered to be a web application that's also going to provide a website as well, Spring Security will automatically put every single route under authentication requirements. At the same time, Spring Boot Security initially uses what is called sessions. This is that concept when you log in, there's a cookie created on your system or a file on your system that will then track that session and keep that session open. A cookie version of the session will keep you open even if you close that browser tab and go somewhere else and then come back and reopen the browser, whereas a local session will only work for as long as that browser window is open. As soon as you close that browser window and go to another browser window and then go to the same page, you'll have to log in again. And so you'll see different versions of it. Again, these are some interesting things you can keep in the back of your mind when you go to websites. Cookie-based authentication. Like I said, you close the browser window, go back, you're still logged in. That's good. That's cookie-based or local storage-based. But any local storage is usually cookie-based anyway. Whereas, yeah, if you go in, you look around, you then close and go back, you have to log back in again. That was internal storage or browser storage that used the website itself, especially including if you close a tab and then reopen the tab again, open a new version of the tab, and you don't have authentication anymore. It was being stored in the local code of the website, so in a variable on the website, and it wasn't using any local storage at all. Cool. So you have that. Whether or not we'll get into local storage for React, we'll discuss that. We're definitely going to be kind of just doing it local based in the beginning. Whether or not we actually include local storage, we'll see. But I do kind of want to include that because that is good practice. But is it needed for you guys to build a project? No. It's not important for you guys to make sure that you keep someone logged in when they close the browser and reopen it. So we may not even worry about that. But I'll at least give you guys some of the keywords you can look into if you want to enable that for your projects. May even do some demos of it. Because I did forget one quick thing that we do have to add in before we do React. There's one more thing after Spring Security we still have to do, and that is consuming an external API. I want to make sure you guys know how in Spring Boot, have your backend project consume an external API. So if you want to bring in, let's say, news articles, we can see that we can bring in news from, and that's what we're going to use for geeky likes, is that we want to, let's say we want to make sure that someone can post a geeky like about a news article. And so what we can do is we can load into our system a bunch of news articles. We can have the student, the user pick one and create a geeky like with that article that connects to that article. And so we'll just add a meta tag to our geek out. That means the geek out can be connected to a news article. And so we'll have the API. It'll pull up a list of news articles based on a keyword that they put in. They can pick one and then they'll make a post about it. You had a question, Jim? You look confused. And I saw your mouth move, but I didn't hear anything.
No, I'm just
okay. I was just making sure. I saw you like it said that you had the scrunched up face, and I saw the mouth move, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So, cool.
I hate when the computer forces me to do stuff. So I'll.
Okay. All good. But yeah, we also have to add in that before we go into React. So that's gonna be one of the last things we do before we get into React is how do we get a Spring Boot application to pull from an API. Part of the reason for that is, yes, can we pull from an external API that is provided by someone else? Yes, that can be useful for some of your projects. The other reason for that, again, is that if you want to create the microservice version of your application where you have two systems for your project working separately, then according to one service, that other service is an external API, right? Mm-hmm. There's no way for your project to know that that other API is part of its programming. And it should know that. These things are independent systems, independent services. They don't need each other in order to work. They utilize each other, but they don't need each other. And so this concept of consuming an external API is useful for microservicing as well. because you'll be able to tell one microservice to ask another microservice for data because they're both APIs. That's the other purpose behind it. All right, so those are the last things we can learn. All right, as I was saying before, so this then provides session, does session op, and it does, what am I looking for? Like I said, it secures all your routes by default. All your routes are behind a security item. So if we were to run our application right now with these items running, my button go here, play. Executes, starting Gradle daemon. That's called daemon. Gradle daemon started. Second, I just want to make sure you guys see what it does.
Ooh,
What?
that's new.
Did you have to add a username and password and stuff in the application properties for security?
Not by default,
Okay.
because it has a default behavior. If you don't,
Yeah,
if you start providing those items, it will.
Yeah.
You see here, it generated a user.
Yeah.
It actually generated a password for admin. And so if I now try to go to the URL, the 8080, I don't have a browser window open on this screen. So
I forgot to generate its own password in the beginning.
Yep.
That's why I put the properties in, so I didn't have to
pull up
do.
my log in my system. Here. Windows 88. We see we instantly get redirected to a login page.
Oh,
If I try to go to my API / developers, I get, because I don't have a login, I'm redirected. I can do. Then I lose admin. So admin or user, can't remember. That's on my head. So I don't really use this.
User.
I might be user. Oh, I think it is
Yeah,
user.
well, I put U for user, so I think it is user.
You're right. Sign in button, hit sign in. And yeah, now it brings me in and I can see that page that I wanted. The problem is this won't really work with Postman. Postman is not a browser, and so it won't have sessions. And so in an API, we usually aren't using a browser to request data from an API, are we?
no.
We're using a service or a package manager or something else. And so we need to send authentication to our springboot system and allow our springboot system to accept other forms of authentication.
Oh,
And so we want to use, of course, something called JWT or token authentication through headers. What I will showcase quick, man, close it, so that's fine. Yeah, weekend, long break. Didn't need to keep all those tabs open. This up quick. With one of these, you do see this authorization tab. Now, this uses a specific header. Do this and go to, and the most common one you'll see is something called a bearer token. That's the most common you'll see. Bearer token, you put the token in here, and that'll actually add the token as a header as well. Called a bearer authorization token. The downside, of course, of this is that this is a common use item, so a lot of people will actually try to put some sort of token into the bearer, and you might get them trying to do that. Another way you can do it is also just create your own header. So there's multiple different ways we can handle this. I haven't decided which way yet I want to do it. We might just use the bearer token, but since it's JWT, we'll probably just end up using our own header token or our own header field, which we'll use in here. We'll give it a key, and we'll put the token there and send that over. It's usually the way I like to do it. That way you can have a nice secret header. That way no one can try to guess what the header is. And that way you can instantly fail the authentication. If someone tries to send it brute force through bearer token, it'll just fail instantly instead of if they try to, and that way we can fail without attempting to validate the token that's there. For me, that was a nice way of kind of introducing some security, because we don't even read the bearer token. We just say, hey, does this header exist? No, don't even try it. So we save some processing. And then someone at least has to figure out what the header is. Okay, so get that. Yeah, that's what we want to change. So that means we need to change the default behavior of Spring Security. But before we get into that, I want to talk more about what we are going to have our system do, what our process is, and how the authentication is going to go. So let's go ahead and do a new share report. Tiger. There we go. That's what we can. There we go. All right. So we have our user. So that's their PC, we can say. Works. So you have the user. And so they're going to send in a request. And the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is the create a user. So we're going to do a post request to slash public slash API slash user. We're going to do authenticate. A lot of people do that to authorize authentication, auth. So API slash auth. You could do, actually a slash right there, whatever, it doesn't look like a slash. There's a couple of options we have. We have slash auth, authorization. I don't like that because it's long and difficult.
Where does the public come from?
This is going to come in when we actually decide. This is how we're going to be able to tell Spring what routes are public and what routes are privated.
Got
So
it, okay.
anything under the public route will be considered public. Anything under slash, we could do either private or slash API will be considered private.
So private's going to be the default
yeah.
state, and we're going to specify what's going to be public. Okay.
Exactly. That's just how Spring Boot works in a default behavior. I'm fairly confident there is a way to make it where you can give it where the security stuff is, but Spring Boot wants to work on Spring Boot likes to work in a concept of everything secure. You tell me what isn't. So that way, everything that you build is by default secured, and only those items that you specifically make public are public. So they work on a reverse statement. Instead of saying everything's open and only what you tell me is private, Spring Boot works on everything's private except for the things you tell me that are. So that they like to work on a more secure mentality. And this is where it's kind of different from Node, where you guys didn't work on that, but Node and Express and stuff like that. For that, everything was open unless we put in the security system. So if we forgot to add the security system, it's instantly public. There we go. So yeah, we'll do API slash, and then we also have ACI slash auth for log out and stuff like that. But even then, that could be technically public, just if you're not logged in, it doesn't do anything. Anyway, we have our post public API auth, authorization, user, something like that. We can do any of those routes for that, right? And we're going to have the user model or the user entity. We're not going to have an auth entity, we're going to have a user entity. So what do we think we like more, slash auth or slash user? User.
User. A combination
User.
of both. I think user makes more sense to me. I don't know.
What do you guys think? Everyone's on board with that?
Yep.
Slash user?
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Okay,
Cool.
Dragon.
That works.
I like authentication.
What is it?
I like authentication because that's what it's doing. But yeah,
Again, that's something you can do on your project. That's fine. We can use user product because it'll match the model. But yeah, again, just like anything else, we've been, even though in our models and stuff, we've been making sure that our routes kind of match the controller. They don't have to. Always remember that they don't have to match the controller. That is just a common practice, and it can be nice, but it doesn't need to. Part of how we did that is we made sure that our approval model uses the like route. So don't forget that. So even though the model is user, we don't have to use user. You can use auth or authorization. So, or authenticate. Whatever way you want to go for your project, go for it. We can use user.
Is that considered like not exploit, but I was thinking just exploit because it's like, okay, user, oh, there must be a user controller then I can go try to find that.
That can be, yes. And that is something that you need to be aware of, is that, by having the routes match your models, you could be giving a hint as to what your database structure is, what the database is. So someone can get access to it. They know what tables to look for, what to put in their SQL scripts. So that is something you can be cautious about. And so you can, of course, some companies may have in their design model or in their, what's the term for it now? Oh, I forgot about it. Style guide.
Style
That's
guide.
it. Thank you, Keith. Yep, you know exactly where I was going with that. Perfect. The style guide or the requirements for your code is you can't use the names of the database structure in your code because they don't want that information getting out. So yes, you would have to do API/auth. That's what they would want for the route because they don't want anyone knowing, oh, our system is called a user model. Even then, a lot of companies won't even use an auth model or user model for that. They'll call it something different. So just to, again, hide it. And they'll actually, a interesting practice is the database might actually have a user table, but what it'll actually be there is something called a honeypot. Does anyone here know what that is?
Honeypot.
Jim does. Sergio, want to take a guess?
I do.
Similar
I
to
figured you might.
the
Sergio, do you want to take a guess?
A honeypot.
Yeah. In cybersecurity, what is a honeypot?
It's like where a lot of like critical information is stored.
Yes and no, but Keith, what is it?
It's basically almost emulating your, like, say you had a network, you emulate your network for people go to that site or that area of your network to try to steal the data, and then you have an idea of like how they plan on attacking you.
Yeah, kind of. The honeypot itself is just
Well,
important looking data.
yeah,
It's
my
data that
interpretation
looks important.
But
Yeah,
yeah, but it's
my
not.
interpretation is
It's
it's
not.
like you set
That
up.
was pretty close.
My
It's
thing is,
falsified.
the way I set up is like you set up like quote unquote dummy data, and someone's thinking that they're getting the actual data.
Yes.
In fact, it's
Exactly.
anything.
But they use them to
Something
actually
like
figure
that.
out how you're
Yes,
going to be
well, that's
hacked.
it. A proper honeypot should have tracking systems, but a honeypot doesn't have to have that for it to be called a honeypot.
Yeah, okay.
You don't have to have the tracking information to make it a honeypot. A honeypot just is, yes, it's important looking data, so they'll grab that, think they got what they need, and disconnect. Because most hackers, what they'll do is they only want to stay in long enough to get their information. Once they get it, you get out, period. Social engineers, hackers, thieves, all of that. As soon as they get what they want, you need to get out, because the longer you stay, the more likely you are to get caught. So once you have what you want, you get the F out. So that's why you would put a honeypot, because at minimum, yeah, maybe you didn't put the tracking stuff in so that you can see who got it or how they got it, or put the tracker in. But at least, yeah, they get it. You know that someone got it. So you know, hey, someone did get into our system. We need to lock it up. And at least the data they got is useless. It looks important, but it isn't. It's dummy data. So those are honeypots. And honeypots can be database-wise. They can be server-wise. So a lot of times, yeah, you'll have a server that is easily named, that is easier to access than your actual data. And so you could actually have a database on your network that is easier to access and appears to have good, valid, like useful data. They grab that, they get out, don't even realize that the data they grabbed is completely useless when they finally actually go through it. It is completely fake and fudged. And by the time they realize that, they can't get it anymore. Because again, as Keith mentioned, a good honeypot setup is you can detect as soon as that data goes across your network. So as soon as you realize, hey, wait, that honeypot data just traveled across, just went on an outbound route. It just got pulled out of our system in a outbound bandwidth. Wait, what happened? Someone was in our system. They pulled the honeypot. Our system has been breached. Let's lock it down. So that's one of those things that you usually put the honeypot on a server that isn't accessed. So there's no in or out data going to it. So as soon as you realize, hey, a lot of data just came out of the honeypot, someone was in our system. So it's a really smart tool and a really smart defense item for the blue team. It can be really annoying to the red team.
it's like putting a big heavy safe in your house in an obvious spot that has nothing in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, right next to the actual safe that's behind the photo. And so they grab that safe, run out the door, and then realize, oh, there were rocks in this. And wait, is that a GPS tracker? Crap! That as soon as it goes out the house, the GPS tracker turns on. So yep, 100%. That's pretty much what it is. That's the honeypot. Yep. So yeah, we go in. What we want to do is, yeah, when a post comes into our user route, we're going to go ahead and create a user. And we can also even log them in on that route too, and send back the token. We can also have put public API user to log in an existing user. And we'll send back a JWT token. So we send those back. Inside as well. And then with that, we can also have a input of a get, not there, get, let's say, API. What is it? My developer, or get API me developer me. There we go. Or self. You can do any of those. Get API developer self. So I know we have developers. We could also even change it to get developers and developer. So you could update our controller to have both developer and developers. And developers will get the list, while developer will get you. We'll get the solo of you. And so we can do that. Which we might do. We'll do get developer. That'll get logged in dev profile. And that must include the token in the header. And then as long as we have that, we'll validate the header, we'll decrypt the header, as we talked about. The JWT token is encrypted data. And one of the points in that encrypted data is the user ID number. And so we can then use that user ID number to then pull the profile and send back the developer entry and send back developer. Make sense? So that's what we can do with that. We can also, when we want to do, we can then also update our post request for geekouts to not have to include the user ID anymore. We'll just include the geekout data, and then we'll pull the poster data through the JWT token. So we turn that post geekout into a private route and require the JWT token. Sound good? So this is what we're kind of looking to do. Share. And that in. Let's do this quick. Here. I want to do a simple application or just want to jump right in. I think we should we're going to try jumping right in, but I will say at any point this seems like it's hard to follow. We need to do a separate mini project just to understand this process. Please let me know. That's something I'm going to make sure it's very, very clear from the beginning. If any of this just seems like it's not making sense, let me know. So first thing, what's that?
I was curious, like if we were gonna start with geeky likes, or if we were gonna start fresh with something with my own personal comments with stuff. But I mean, I'm happy with either way.
Yeah, I want to try because again, the quicker we get through this, the quicker we can do more items for you guys for your projects for the break. But again, if it's not making sense, if it's not clicking, and we need to do a separate project to make sure we understand it, we can definitely do that. I'm going to try to see if we can do it with the existing project, but if it's not clicking, if it's weird to add it into an existing project, we can build a very simple basic one as well. We're going to try here, but yeah, please do not hesitate to tell me, yep, I don't know how to do this. I'm not, if you guys struggle to add it to your Expressian app, for example. So we try to add it to Expressian and it's not making sense how to do it, then let me know. We can do it. We can do it a second time with an original project with just like two records and some secured routes that don't even need to pull from another database. So anyway, let's do it. Let's see what we can do. So first things first, as we mentioned before. Oh wait, actually, do I still want to keep that open? If you remember correctly, when we talked on Thursday, and I'm not showing my screen right now, I just realized. So let's go back to that again for 2 seconds. Make that big again.
Yeah, I have to say that this whole authentication thing has always been bothering me. It's just like I understand like what it's doing, but it's just implementing the whole code is the most confusing part for me to generate.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right. So next thing about it, how this works again, just make sure everybody's on the same page. So we did have a couple, we had good like 5 or 6 people not in on Tuesday when we talked about this a little bit. And again, we had the break. So some of you may have forgotten what we talked about on Tuesday. So how JWT works again, JWT is for all intents and casing purposes, or all intents and purposes, it is an encryption system. it takes the JSON data, key 1, value 1, key 2, 18, key 3, true. It takes this data here, so we'll call this data. Use var for the moment, even though I don't like you guys using that in Java. We'll do it today just so that we can make this quick. So we take that like a hash map, a JSON object, JavaScript object, and then we take that data, we include it in an expression. So expression, some sort of formula. So like data times formula, and we get output hash. For all intents and purposes, that's pretty much what encryption is. You take data, you put it through an equation, or include it in an equation, you get an output. And so how this works, of course, if you get the same data, you get the same output. And because of that, that's how we can undo. Because we then, of course, you know, this example here, if you do, what is it, output hash divided by formula, we will get what?
Data.
We'll get the data.
Yeah, exactly. That's how normal algebra works. So we can solve for that by just putting the formula on the other side. So that's how we can then decrypt the data afterwards. Of course, the problem with this is that with JWT being an open source system, the formula is probably pretty known, right? Anybody can use JWT. And so if they have the output hash and they just apply it to the JWT package, they can probably decrypt your data, right? We haven't secured anything, have we? And once they decrypt it, they can then figure out how to make their own, right? So how can we take this formula and make sure that only we can decrypt it? What change can we do here? How do you make sure a formula is different?
We're gonna throw some wrenches into it.
We can add some sort of secret, right? We can add some sort of secret value, right? We add some sort of secret to it. That means we do that. Whoever wants to decrypt it must have that secret, right? They need to have that secret as well. They need to know that secret in order to build a hash, in order to build something. Otherwise, I can just build my own hash here. If I know the data, let's say I know, for example, I'm in browsing, again, sniffing your site. I know that Sergio's user ID is 7. And so I can just put 7 and whatever else I need in a JSON format, send it through the JWT package, get a hash, and now I can act as you on that site.
I mean,
Yeah, we don't want that, right? We don't want that. That's bad. But if we use a secret key, unless the hacker knows that secret key, they can't generate a output hash that will work with our site. Because when we try to decrypt it, we're going to decrypt it with this formula plus secret, not just formula. So they'll decrypt it with formula, not formula plus secret. We'll try to decrypt so it won't work. The benefit is that our secret will never leave our server. Our secret never goes to the front end. So there's no way the sniffer can find it. The front end doesn't know it. There's no way for the hacker to get it unless they look at our source code or in our private data. And so that's key. And a lot of times you'll see that secret can simply be put in as a environment variable. So that way you can change it at any time if you want. And then all you need to do is just invalidate all existing JWT tokens and force people to log in again. And then you can use a new secret key. So you can constantly change that. And that can be a thing that's sometimes a practice that, and if you ever worked on a site or a company where every X amount of months you have to relog in, period, and again, they give you no option, that could be why, that every couple months they're changing their secret key. That way all current validations are invalid, and that way, say somehow a disgruntled employee or someone leaks the secret key, doesn't matter.
Is the output hash like a kind of small amount of characters in this?
I think it's like 256. I think it's it's not too small, but it's not giant either.
Okay. Because I was under the impression that when you hash something, it takes so much effort to try to take that hash and get back with what you originally hashed it with. No, not necessarily. Salting can make it more complex and require more
cycles. So, and that's something we are going to mention. We are going to salt a little bit. We're going to do like 10 cycles. What that means is that you're going to take that data and send it through the formula X number of times. So that's what salting means. You're going to send the data once through and then through again, through again, through again. And you're going to have a hash a certain number over. And that way it's more randomized.
I used to do
That's
that
salting.
manually.
Oh, Jesus. No,
Well,
there's a
no,
salting
when I
system.
was doing like one of my scrapers or one of my projects, I'd be like, instead of just taking the first password, I like just generate like maybe like 10 of them on the console and just like select the middle one, just select that as the password. And
Oh, geez.
well, I was just doing that because I was testing and working on it. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
you know, but that's essentially what
Yeah.
I was doing. I was salting it because I was
Yep.
just choosing a random one from that list. I even think I had the
Ah.
computer generate one too. Just generate, pick from the list generated. So, but-
Gotcha. No worries. But yeah, we're gonna be using that. I actually wait, hold on. I'm thinking of decrypt the password. I don't actually think we're gonna salt the JWT. No, you're not salting the JWT. Never mind. Wrong thing. What was the question again though? No, again, this is not hash. It is, but it isn't hashing. It's encrypting something, but it's a simple encryption.
Okay. all right.
SHA-256. How we're gonna encrypt the passwords? That's gonna be a little more aggressive, but we're never sending that data across the internet, and we're only doing it on our server side, which should be able to handle that kind of.
Yeah, that's what I
calculations.
was thinking of, because I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I thought the whole point of that was when you get the result of the SHA-256, you can't take
Yeah.
that and then just go, backward compatibility.
Right. No. Yeah, that's where this is different. Yeah, this is encryption, but not that kind of encryption. That's a different type of encryption. Yep. Yeah. So, which is again, encryption itself is a whole other topic and a whole other study. But yeah, this is encryption that is meant to be decrypted though. So this is encryption that's meant to be. So that concept, what it is you're just validating that the original message is the same message. Because if you encrypt the same data, you'll get the same hash. So all you can do is validate that the text that you have is what you want. And we're going to be using that with the password system. We will not ever the password cannot be decrypted using any sort of system except for brute force. That's the benefit of the decrypt system when we're doing that when we hash the passwords. So we will be hashing the passwords. We will be using JWT for this. So. Well, again, we'll talk more about that when we get to that part of it. We'll probably store the first couple of passwords as plain text, but then I'm going to, again, probably Monday, we'll look into bcrypt and talk about that. But that even depends if we even get to that point today. So we'll see. We only have 30 minutes left. We're still discussing what we're doing. So we need a secret. That's the key element of this part of the lesson. The key takeaway from here is that we need a secret key, so that way the JWT hashes that we're creating are unique and secure, and that no one can try to generate a JWT token on their own home system, so they can act as someone else. That's key. There. I think that's all we need now for the whiteboard. If not, I'll come back again. We'll see. So, new share, desktop 1, share. Here we are. Nope. There we are. So the first thing we need is we're actually going to go back to the application properties. Haven't been here in a while. And we're going to do jwt.secret. And all it is a string. A string that we're going to add that's going to secure our system, kind of like a password. For this, we're just going to do something fairly simple. Actually, no, you guys give me a string. No spaces. So just be aware of that. That's not going to use spaces.
Lost Mustang.
Lost Mustang. Is that his car?
Yes. Password. It's Herden's password.
Wow, geez. No, I think the Lost Mustang was connected to John Wick again.
It is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think Eridan's password is Lost Mustang. I think he was connecting it to John Wick. So unless Eridan has a very strong John Wick connection and all of his stuff is John
No,
Wick
I was
related.
gonna say you
John Wick.
assume so. You're making a lot of assumptions here.
There's a good chance that Eridan is a
may
huge
try.
John Wick fan and everything is John Wick related and all his passwords.
Oh, that would be Star Wars, man.
There we go. There you go. So yeah, Lost Mustang, that's fine. Again, we can be anything. I'm going to have you guys recommend to use the same one just so that way anything goes wrong, you can at least compare with my code. But
Easy
this
enough.
is, yeah. it's random. And again, this can be as complex or as little because trying to brute force this system is going to be a pain in the butt for anybody trying to do this stuff. This is not something that's easily brute forced. So don't worry too much about it. But yeah, if you're doing something financial, make it more complex. Go for it. That's fine.
Make it more complex, like Cliff is cool.
Thank you. Yeah, no one's going to guess that.
Woof.
Self-degradation for the win. Yeah, so that's going to give us that. So we have that now. And the next thing we need is actually we're going to create a utility. So this utility is going to be our JWT operations, like creating the token and validating the token. All right. So we need a new class. We're going to create a util package, our own util package. New Java class. I'm going to call this util. Package.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, wait, that doesn't look right. Util. So just like java.util, we're now going to have geekylikes.app.util.
So Cliff.
Yep.
Just wanted to point this out into the class just for a good thing, just for something. You see
Throw it
up
out there.
on top of your tab up there, it says project. Up on the left side, on the top. Nope, keep going to the left.
Over here.
Nope, above your project itself. Yeah, click on that. Yeah, right with the down out. Yeah, click on that. Click on packages. It just shrinks everything out and just does the packaging and stuff. It just clears out all the Gradle stuff. If you don't need to see all that stuff, you just want to work on the project.
That's not bad. That could be a nice view. Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes a nice view.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot less. All right, that's not bad actually. Okay, cool.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty clutch. I
It
like
can,
that.
yeah, that can help to kind of minimize stuff so that you're not so distracted by all the files. Not bad. Good stuff. I'm game. Go for it. So yeah, I'll use packages for now, so that way that looks a little smaller. I like that because I can actually see a lot of the stuff now. It's not so
Nice.
nested. It's not all over to the right. So yeah, our util, we're going to create a Java class, and this is going to be our. We're going to call this our. What do I want to call it again? What was my notes? I think it's gonna be, yeah, just very simple. JWT token util. Right. Now, some of this is just going to be what you want to do. So just follow along with this. Some of these items you have to just put in. Now, this one doesn't have any sort of given item of what it is for Spring Boot. We want to make sure Spring includes it. And so the other annotation we can put in, and this one you can actually put on every single item part of Spring Boot. We're just going to call this a component. This is going to be a Spring Boot component. So where we put entity, you could also put component, and they're going to leave Spring Boot to analyze what it is. Spring Boot can usually guess it. This is a similar concept. Spring Boot will be able to realize what it is. Another thing we need to bring in as well is we're going to, and again, this is just part of JSON Web Token. This is part of the documentation. But it's also the JSON Web Token needs to implement the serializable package. So it's going to follow that framework. So that way the system can utilize it correctly. This will make sure that it follows that. And again, this is a interface connection. So we're just letting Spring Boot know that it can utilize serializable methods. And we'll also make sure we include the methods we need. All right. With that being said, the fields we need is.
Wait, Cliff, did you say this was an interface?
Yeah.
It's implementing an interface.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yep. Checking this quick. My notes, make sure I'm remembering how to do this again, but let's do this. Hold on. So, first thing we need to do it at value. This is going to help us bring in telling it that it's jwt.secret. Bring that in, and that was because we capital V. Dang it. That's why it's yelling at me.
Does it need to be a capital V?
Yep, capital V. Yeah, I did the wrong two. And so what this does is that instead of us trying to make it equal to JWT secret, this is going to connect it. This is going to have Spring Boot connect it and make secret equal to our JWT secret. So this is how you can make a variable equal to a environment variable from Spring Boot without actually having to do it through a constructor or set it yourself. So add value says to bring in this value and set it when we do initialize the system. We're just setting it to that item. All right. So Spring Boot will handle it. Sound good?
Yeah. What's the significance of the $ and the open parentheses there?
Environment variable
Oh,
or application variable. It's the syntax that they want to connect that to that. How it connects to the application properties. So this is how it pulls the application properties. It's very similar to environment variables, actually, but it's not an environment variable. It is a application property. So it seems like, from my understanding, Java decided to use or Spring Boot decided to use the environment variable syntax for this. It's fascinating. And just following the documentation on it. First thing we want to do is be able to retrieve the user ID from the JWT token. So we're going to do public string get user ID.
What does line 11 say? I'm gonna
Token.
zoom up a little on it.
11.
Yeah, 11.
Can I make it bigger? Yeah, make it bigger. Just JWT.secret. It's the same thing we did in the
Yeah,
application
no, but
properties.
one side looks like a curly brace, the other side looks like a parenthesis.
Oh, you're right. I did. This was a curly bracket. Sorry.
Okay.
oh,
I did hit it wrong. Yeah, curly brackets. Thank you. Good catch. Good catch. Yep, it's curly
Thank you,
brackets.
And it's so small that I was just like,
Yeah, it can be.
not.
oh,
I didn't
that,
even see it either.
now that makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah.
Might
I
have-
didn't even, it was so small, I didn't even realize that I did a parenthesis and a curly bracket. So I didn't realize I did two
I was
different.
like, no, this is new. I'm gonna
That's
go-
why I was confused.
Okay. Yep. No, see, I didn't even realize I did it because yeah, it is small. So it is hard to see that difference with that green text. So I didn't see that. I didn't realize I did two different brackets.
At one point, I got like really close to the screen. I did this because I was like,
I still couldn't see it, even though
Okay.
I
Please be specific on those questions. Yeah, those things. Yeah, I don't know any situation where you would use two different parentheses or parents of any kind. So
yeah, for that.
yeah,
I knew it
encapsulators.
had the
Yep.
curly braces. I'm like, but what's parentheses for?
Yeah,
My
no.
issue was I didn't see the closing one. I only saw the $ and the open one, so that's why I was really confused and didn't know how
I
to
did
word the
forget
question right.
that was it. I did the opening one. I forgot the closing one. And I went back, saw I forgot the closing one. So I put the curly bracket like I was supposed to.
Oh,
So then I added the curly bracket like I was supposed to. And then I didn't realize I put the parenthesis in the beginning. So, yep, that was fun. Totally great.
thank you, Jim. Good catch.
Definitely good catch. So get user ID from token. That's going to accept a string token. And we'll be pulling that from the header, but in this case, this is just a utility method. It's not going to be part of the JSON or the thing there. So we're just going to call this method whenever we have it. We're going to send the token over. I'm going to do return get claim token. And this is going to be another method I believe I'm going to build as well. So that's another method we're going to build. This one's going to be a dynamic one. So the get claim is going to say, we're going to be able to say what we want from it. So this is going to be a very interesting method I want to be able to showcase you guys. So, actually, maybe I should build that one first, actually. Let's do that method first. Yeah, because this is going to look weird to you guys. Okay, comment that out for the moment. Wrong buttons. Do that. There you go. So let's do this one first. I want to showcase this concept. So public P get token. And so this is going to make it a function that can return different data types depending on what the data type we want. And so it's going to attempt to whatever this wants a string. So get claim token is going to attempt to return a string. All right.
And T is for type.
Yep, exactly. Now we do that. We're going to do the signature for that is.
So this is a dynamic return type then?
Yep.
Wow.
I want to showcase it. I'm probably also going to showcase the standard version of it, but I wanted to showcase this just to have fun with it. But I want to give you guys this kind of concept. So
Yeah, generic classes.
yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
You can even
Look at
use a
this.
question mark instead of T, which is a wild card too for the diamond operator.
God.
I don't want to do this though. Oh my god, this might be getting fancy, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to go fancy on this. I think I want to keep it simple in the beginning.
Your code is fancy.
They're
huh?
called claims. That's how it works. So Show what this looks like. Show what it looks like, but I'm not gonna fill this out yet as well either yet. So hold on. All these methods we're gonna do. Function claims T. Again, this word will make sense once we get to the final item. Coming down that again, because I want to start with, let's start with one first one actually. Let's start with something a little simpler. Let's do this first. So now I have that. The other method we're going to have, and this is where it's going to start to make sense. This is the first one. Let's do this one first. Private claim, because this is what JWT returns. JWT returns claims when it decrypts the data. So when it parses what's called claims. Don't ask me why they call it. That's just the terminology that they've decided. So get all claims on token.
So is claims one of those like reserve words you can't use, like for an entity or a class?
I don't think so. I believe claims comes from JSON Web Token because I didn't import it.
Okay.
There it is. Yeah, claims is a class from JSON Web Token. So be aware of that. String token. All right. Then we do return JWTs. I'll hold down the caps lock. JWTs dot parser dot set signing key. This is where we get our secret. Parse claims JWT. There it is. Now you can finally see where the word claiming is coming from. So I'm realizing like that's why I decided like I'm not liking this, I'm not liking this. I have claim there, I have claim here. Like you don't know what that is yet. The claims comes from JWT because that's a class that it exists, and the function, the method we're going to use is the parse claims JWT, and we're going to give it the token. So this is now going to parse out and decrypt that token. And I didn't finish it. Hold on. We parse it, and then we do break. Last one, because that gives us here, just to show you what it does. Object that it gives us is a JWT header claims. We want the claims though, and this is a class, so we got a getter. So again, get, and see how we have there, get body, get header. We have two getters. We want the body, which is the content. So far, so good.
There's a lot there, but I'm digesting it as best I can.
Hoping that's why I'm doing it little by little. And this is where it starts, but technically this is where it starts. So this is going to allow us to decrypt the data. This is going to give us a body with all the claims. All right. This class that we want to do here is we want to be able to pull a specific claim or a specific data type, a specific item from the system. All right.
Mm-hmm.
That now.
Yeah, the thing about it is it's the
which function are we bringing in? Java util function, right? Yeah, that one. Yep, that one. Yep. Jim, you saying something?
The thing of it is, it's like it's just knowing these methods and what you need to use. Because
most of the time you're probably going to want to copy this and just kind of save this one package.
Yeah,
this is a package you're just going to pretty much reuse this exact class in your project. I'm fairly confident you will not change this at all. All right, you're going to use this class as is in your system. All right.
Yeah, because I can understand what parser is, but when it gets to signing keys and the other two, I'm like,
yeah, I
know what get body does. It just returns the body from after getting all this stuff.
Well, I showed that JavaScript, the JSON object. Yeah. Body's going to return the body of the object.
Right, but the whole thing is between these two middle ones here with the secret and token. It's just like that's that black box of like I don't know what it's doing, but you know what? It's doing something. And
exactly. Again, you don't need to know everything about it. Just know this is how we set it up. This is how we configure it so that it will work. And again, all this code, you're getting it so you can pretty much just copy and reuse it. But I'm giving you enough that you can kind of modify a bit. And that way, if you have a system where instead of like getting the username, usernames, if you want to get the email, if you want to get the ID number, whatever you want to get from this item, whatever data you're putting in, that's fine. So in this case, we're going to do on this one now to finish this guy up, we're going to now do a final claims. Get all claims from token. So that method we just created, I'm going to send the token. Return claims resolver apply claims. And so the claims resolver is a built-in, is going to take again the claims and the type that we want. The type that we want, and it's going to say, hey, pull out that claim we want. Pull out the items that we want. Right?
Is that a functional interface, the claims resolver?
Yes. If you give a function. The last thing we want is here. User ID from token. Undo. On the get claim from token, I'm going to do token, and then that function interface, again, it's going to look really weird. Colon. So I do that right. Claims, and then we have these things right here. In this case, we're going to do the subject.
You're missing a semicolon.
Yes, I am.
923.
Thank you. I was looking for that red squiggly. Again, this is just syntax. So the subject is again inside the item. We're going to, our JSON Web Token is going to contain a single bit of information that we want. We're going to see this set subject later on. We're going to set this, so we're going to create a claim later on in this same package. So this is the decryption side. Maybe I should have started with the encrypt side. But the problem with this is that there's no good side to start on. Leave it at that. All right. There's no real good side to start on. So just go with this for the moment. I'm also going to skip the expiration system. We're not going to do expiring tokens. Once the person logs in, they're logged in. If you want to, I'm just going to paste in some code that I'm going to comment out. If you want to involve expiration, you can. I'll bring this in and comment it out. Make sure that's brought in though. Date. Comment out. I don't actually want to use it. And do this. Bringing these in, so if you guys want to use them, you can. I'm not reviewing them. That right there. So this one will, like this one does, it's going to pull from this item, get claim from token. We're going to pull the expiration claim out of the token. Over here, we're going to get the expiration token, and we're going to see if it's expired. That's all. Is that expiration before our current date now? So the date that it expires, is it before the current date? Then it's expired. That's all that's doing. Don't worry about it too much. Again, you can use this if you want to involve. So for example, like on a bank, you know, after you log in, after a certain amount of time, your expiration expires, right?
Mhm.
You have to log in again. That's what this concept is. You can set an expiration date to the JSON Web Token in order to set it up. All right.
You say that's everything from date and time. You can set either one through that.
What was that?
You can even set like time, like 3 hours. Expire.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You're just saying when you set the expiration time, you just put a time frame of how long from now do you want it to expire, and you give it a date time. And as long as the date time that's attached to the JSON Web Token is before the current time, then yeah, it's expired because the date of the expiration is in the past. The expiration date is in the past then. That's all this does. Is hey, if that expiration date is before the current time, well, the expiration time has passed. This token is now expired. So that's all that does. So now let's look at what a generation looks like. And again, this stuff, we're going to go through it, and I'm most likely going to just write the code, and then we'll review it after. All right? All right. So here we go. Public string generate token. Again, follow along with this. We don't have this yet. We will. But again, user details is a class that actually exists from Spring Security. So we now have the Spring Security item called a user details class. This was brought in. We're technically going to also override the user detail system through this system. We still need to provide a user detail system for Spring Security to work. It needs to know the user details. So details. Use a hash map in order to create a key value pair system, which follows the JSON object syntax. So we know JSON is key value pairs, and the key value pair system in Java is a map. That's all this is. String and object. So this is going to be a fancy one where we're going to put objects into each value. So the string is our key, but an object is our value. And that can be anything from an integer. So when you see the word object, don't get nervous. That just means it's not a single data type. That object can be any sort of data. That can be an integer, a Boolean, not bool, sorry, capital B Boolean. Integer, not int, capital F float instead of small float. User, and you can put any sort of object into this system. So that's all that means. It's not a specific data type. And I forgot to do the imports. That, nope, not that. Map, thank you. So many things to import with this. Claims. And we use that same keyword now, so you realize that this hash map we're making is our claimed hash map. All right. It'll be a hash map. So hash map, boom, done there. It didn't do that. Did that. All right. And then the last thing I want to do is, do I want a separate method for this? I think I do, because that way you guys can change this if you want. So I'm going to do a return. Again, just following a tutorial myself, do generate token. This one here will hold the logic. Claims, comma, user details dot. All right, so username, again, username for us is going to be the email. So we are going to use username. So probably change this to username here. Probably. We're getting that username. I always see username and my brain wants to go to user ID because I like using the ID number. But again, the username is just the terminology used by user details of Spring Security. What we put in there is what we can put what we want in there. That could be email, that could be the ID number, that can be their actual username. It doesn't actually have to be a username. Username could be whatever data from our user class we want it to be. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Just understand that username is built into Spring Security. That is the term it uses. So username. Now let's actually show what that logic looks like. So that's private. So to create the token, what we want to do is define the claims, find the token. So this becomes JDT makes it a little difficult that we have to tell it what algorithm we want to use. And the current good one to use is the ch12 algorithm, which I'm kind of aggravated that they make you have to put the algorithm you want to use. What am I saying? For anyone who actually did for cohort 11, you guys remember in JavaScript, and when we used the JDT system there, we didn't have to clarify which algorithm we wanted to use. It had a default one. I need to see if they finally added a default behavior to JJWT, but I don't think they have yet. So, and secret key. And last up to the actual compact serialization tool. So the documentation, because you have to serialize it. We're going to compact the token, or compact the, compact token, a URL safe. Those are the three things that this method is going to do. That's why we're putting it in a separate one. In case you want to change the algorithm or change if we compact it or anything like that, we want to make it safe. That's the three things this thing's going to do. Again, we're going to write it out and then we'll review it. So, I might, depends on how my notes are. I might just want to copy paste this one and review it with you guys afterwards. Some variables and some. That's what I'm for. Yeah, there's some static variables that we're going to add in. It's interesting. So here we go. So let's look at this thing. Let's close these out. So from JWTS, we bring in the builder. We're going to set the claims to the hash map that we have. Set the subject, being the subject here, which again, if we notice for the subject we send is this get username. So the subject is our username. See that there?
Mm-hmm.
Set claims on the claims item. So the builder now has a claims variable. What this does is in the builder object, we now have we've set a field called claims to be our claims hash map. We then set the subject claim to subject. And again, these are all dot notation, these are dot runnings on, they're building things off of the builder class. So it can be a little daunting, a little confusing, what's happening, but it doesn't understand it's doing specific things. Again, when I'm going to set another claim, the set issued at claim. So this is a date, this is a timestamp of when the item was created, your date. We can set an expiration. I'm actually going to cut this out. I don't want this. I don't want an expiration because then I have to explain this JWT token validity thing, which just so you know what that looks like, is a time. This is going to be your how long you want it to be. So 1,000 seconds, we can say, or something like that. And so this is what a common JWT token validity variable looks like. That's a common one. 60 seconds, 60 minutes for an hour, 5 hours. All right, so this, and then this is of course the milliseconds. So by doing this by this, we're setting a 5-hour expiration. That makes sense?
Yes.
Simply do this, 24, we now have a 24-hour expiration or a 1-day expiration. With that, we can then do times 7 to say 7-day expiration, right? See that?
Yes.
Good. So we have 7 days. This would also be the week system now. This is also a 1-week expiration. So with this, I would never say to do, if you want to do months, you're never going to get exact months. We're going to say 1 month, the same exact day. So the 28th of April there's no way to say the 28th of May expiring unless you know the date and you change your numbers based on the start date and end date. So don't ever think that you're going to do something like that. You can do those, do a times 4, and that will roughly be a month. All right. Or do times 30. So you can do times, so you can do the week times 4 weeks for be 1 month. So this is 1 month, but also this is 1 month. There's two different ways that developers signify a month. Make sense? The average is 30. What's that, Colin?
Oh, you can bring in the local date time class, and that allows you to adjust for given years, you know, the differences between how many days are in a month, and it does everything with leap years too.
But, yeah, you know, you probably could do that with this area here if you wanted to.
Yeah, local
But then you
date
wouldn't be
time
able
also
to.
does, like you can compare it to whatever time you want.
You probably mess with that.
If it is 1 month after this.
You could mess with that a bit more. Yeah, there's probably more you could do with this. Yeah, play with the date system a little more often. You can make it a little more interesting. But yeah, at the same time, I do want to introduce this concept of just kind of doing the math yourself. Again, I don't want to do expirations, so I'm actually going to comment this line out. I don't want to deal with expiration. We're not going to deal with that, so I'm going to comment those out. So you have those if you want to use them, and you can definitely play with this more, but this is just a simple kind of dirty way of doing expiration timeframes without including another data object. But yeah, definitely you can probably play with the data object a little more, mess with it a bit more. Didn't think of that. Because I tend not, I don't like playing with the data object in Java yet. I have to stop ignoring the data object. Jim understands what I mean. The data object is not fun. So.
It's not, yeah.
All right, so we're now going to go ahead and sign the item. So we're going to sign with, we need an algorithm and a secret key. This is brought in by JWTS. We do that again, so we can bring it in. You can see JSON Web Token has multiple algorithms you can use. They'll say do none, and then you're just going to sign it with the secret key, and that is it. That is not safe. But you can pick any of these algorithms. Like I said, 512, the ES5, the HS512 is a high security. If I remember correctly, HS stands for high security and easy security. I don't remember actually. I don't remember what these actually stand for. It's not high and easy security. What am I thinking? I don't remember what it stands for. You can definitely look up the algorithms. These are just the formulas they can use. HS512 is a nice one to use. Really, honestly, any of these you can probably just have fun with. Feel free to look up them if you want, but just from my notes and what I looked into, 512, the HS512 is a good one to use. That.
If you really want to be very secure, you could just have that little thing be randomized every time.
Take a random one from my hat. Yeah, put them all in a hat and a map and an array, and just pick one randomly.
And
There you
pick
go.
one random every
I
time, and
don't
no one
know-
could ever guess which one you're using.
I think
Killer
I
Doom.
think you can because we could use whichever one because we don't specify which algorithm we used when we parse it. You don't need to tell it which algorithm we used when we pull the ticket apart, do we? No, we don't. Yeah, no, we don't. Yeah, no, we don't. Cool. Anyway.
So basically, that's returning a JSON object.
Yeah, a JSON web token. It's going to return a token.
Setting.
So this all creates a object inside the builder. So this creates a claim object inside of the builder by setting all the claims. We set a subject claim, we set an issued at claim, and you can set an expiration. As you saw above, I was setting those claims. And if you see again here, just to showcase it again, colon. These are the claims you can set. So you can do a dot set expiration, you can do a set issued at, set not before, set audience. You can do because you can get these things: get ID, get audience, get subject, get issuer. So you can see all the getters you have, and you can see all the setters you can do for claims. So this is an object that already exists for JSON Web Token. From my understanding, the subject.
Yes. What is the subject?
It can be whatever data type you want, from my understanding.
Okay.
You can see here, the get claim is a free data type. It's just a type. I think so. Let's I do it again. Yeah, the data type isn't being clarified there. And you can see here, get claims. The T here again is dynamic as well. We go down here to where's the get subject again?
You get the subject down by the generate.
We didn't do get set. We do set subject here, but I think again that can be an object. So set subject. No, it has to be a string. So the subject does have to be a string, but you could stringify a JSON object. And so you could technically, theoretically, put a JSON object in the subject, as long as you stringify it and then parse it afterwards. So you could use, I think, the Jackson properties. Again, this is getting fancy. Everyone here, do not worry about this. This is only if you need to send additional data down that you want to be able to parse that data when you get it. So if you want to be able to pull more data from the JSON Web Token, you can definitely do that. Do you need to do this? No. This is fancier than necessary. So just be aware of that. The only thing we feel like encrypting is our, quote, user ID, or our username, quote, sorry. The username for Spring Security. That's all we really care about. So we need to get that for Spring Security. We need that username for Spring Security. That's all we really care about. All right. So can you do more fancy stuff? Of course. Do you need to? No. Yeah, we're creating the claims object. These are set items that are set by JSON Web Token that can then be utilized by what's what I'm looking for? Spring Security.
Yeah, is it only because subject's a string, but you just claimed it on line of was it 54?
What's that? For?
Line 54, you set the subject to be string. Is that why? That's why when it went down to subject there, and
Don't think so. No, because set subject doesn't know I'm going to give it subject. So no, it doesn't know that. Yeah, set subject doesn't know I'm going to give it subject. Set subject is a method as part of builder and the claims object. So
okay.
Yep, it's all part of the builder object really. So builder set claim, set subject, then sets it inside a claim. Set issue is run on builder, which then sets it inside there, and then all that fun stuff. So yeah, and then of course we're going to sign that item. So then sign with, again, run on builder will then sign that claims object we created, that claims map we created, or that claims object, sorry. So the claims object then gets signed, and that returns the JSON Web Token that we want, that key token that I mentioned, that hashed token. Last thing that I want to do Make sure the token's valid. I'm going to change that function. Hold on. So this one up here, the get user ID for token. I know again that I want to put the ID inside of our JWT, but it is the username we're getting for user details. So I'm going to do get username, even though that's not actually what we're pulling. We're going to collect email, but our email is our username, and our ID number is our username. But yeah, get the point. Yeah, get username. Token. Then return dot equal details. So what we're doing here is we want to make sure that the username we pull from the token equals the user details that we want, that we actually have a username and it's the same. So we validate that the token is valid. And then last thing I'll say on this one, though, I'm going to add in a commented version of this above it. Oh, I don't need the parentheses here for this one.
I was wondering why you put the parentheses there.
Wait, what?
Oh, right.
Should be fine. Did I spell something wrong?
No, you're kicking back a Boolean instead of and it wants a string.
Oops. It's supposed to return Boolean. My bad. Thank you. I'm like, that should be fine. Why is it yelling at me? Thanks. Yeah, I type string. All these other ones over here, string. You start typing string. Thank you. I'm literally staring at it in my notes, of course. This one is one of the few times I'm actually like copying from my notes because yeah, this is again the same regardless of the project you're working on. So string is going to get that, and then the last thing I'll add, like I said, is a commented version of it, or not actually. I'll comment it up if I type it. Username dot equal. Oh, this is where I want the parenthesis now. Now the parenthesis will make sense. Username dot equals user details dot username and that is. I commented that method out, so it won't pop in. But we're going to do the is token expired. The method I commented up here. Okay.
Oh, right.
So this is so if you decide to do expiration in your app, uncomment this one and comment this one out. So this one will bring your expiration in. So if you want expiration again, bring this in, so uncomment this. Uncomment that, uncomment this, and uncomment these. And that'll bring expiration in. I can't move that up. Okay, yeah, I can move this up. Can I? No, I should keep it here so it's next to this. It's fine. Find the commented stuff and uncomment it. So that's the key item here. So now you have your expiration stuff. You need, and what's my notes I need to do? That's all the methods we need to figure this. Let's check my notes. Why do I have this again? Oh, right, I do need to add that thing. That's part of the interface. Last thing you do, and I forgot, I'm actually kind of surprised that Java isn't yelling at me for this because I thought it would. We need another variable. Static. File. And then maybe the data type actually wrong. Serial version. IP. All right. Explain this. You use the serial version UID attribute to remember versions of a serializable class to verify that a loaded class and a serialized object are compatible. There's no required number that needs to go here. It just needs a number, which is weird. And I need to do more research on it as to what it specifically does. The idea is that serializable is something that can be comparable. That's the main concept of it, that the two objects can be comparable because they are serialized. They have a serial number to them. And so this just is a version ID. I do need to do more research on it. My main concept again is that I didn't need to understand this to make sure that GWT worked. So I didn't do too much digging into it. And again, if anyone does care, let me know. I am fascinated, but at the same time, I haven't had time to really dig too much deep into it because I didn't need to understand it in order to use it. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do want to learn more, feel free to look it up and feel free to share it in class. If you do want me to try to dig into it more, let me know. If you care about it, by all means, but at the same time, again, we don't need it.
I wonder if it's a root number for something. Like
It's right here, that's valid.
Yeah, I wonder if it's I wonder if it takes that and uses it as some type of like root to.
I think
build
so.
something like that.
Yeah, I believe it uses it in order to serialize the instances of it. But yeah, again, I haven't fully understood yet why it needs it, but it's there. What's funny is that there's always a good chance that while I'm teaching you guys, a realization may trigger. Because when I'm researching something from my understanding versus when I try to explain it to you guys, when I'm trying to explain what I know, I realize new things. So just be aware that while I'm saying now, I don't realize what the purpose of this is right now. As we continue digging through this, I may realize it, which would be great. So that's part of the other thing too that I do. Sometimes when I'm researching myself, I don't realize, and that's why it's also, I tell you guys, help each other. I realize things a lot of times when I'm teaching you guys, it's the very first time. So I've learned a lot about Java during these lessons with you guys. I understand Java way more now than I did even before after teaching you guys. So just be aware of that. So while I'm saying right now, this is just what we need for JDT to work. This is what I did to make it work. Part of what I did, the tutorial I followed and the instructions I followed in order to learn how to use JWT. Just follow along with that. And these things are there. I don't realize yet specifically how these work and what this does, but this is what's needed. All right.
Here's something from Slack Overflow related to it, if anyone's curious.
Feel free to share it in the Slack if you want, or in Zoom chat, wherever. Yeah, feel free to look that up on your own time. But for now, I'm going to keep moving forward. Oops. Right, so we have that. All right. Next thing we need to deal with is we need a user detail service. Again, this is going to help JWT communicate with Spring Boot security. This is a requirement that Spring Boot security needs. It needs a user detail service, not a controller. And the main thing you need to say with a service. So what a service is. A service, how do I explain this right? It's where the logic contains. So as I explained a little bit on Tuesday, if we look back here to our controllers, some of our controllers, and move this out of the way.
Hey, I was mentioning that.
What's that?
I mentioned about that. About service.
So we have these repositories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Geek Out and Approve is also in our Geek Out repository because we need access to the approved repository in order to do certain things with some of these routes here. So we want to make sure that it handled it. And so we have that there, and then we'll explain this right. I don't know if there's a really good example of a requirement in our current app. Let me make sure I explain this right. So let's say again, we have this approved repository. So we have the approved repository, the Geek Out repository here. We have let's say that we create another controller though for admins, right? So another controller for admin routes. So we have another controller that contains all our admin routes. We want to make sure the admin can delete and modify geek outs as well, can add geek outs and remove geek outs, same way that they do here, but just with a little extra power. They can edit other users' geek outs. So we have the geek out mapping right here that adds a geek out, right? That creates one. We have a geek out that will edit it. We didn't actually, did we put that one here? Where is that one? I feel like we did. Didn't I? Oh, I didn't. I actually commented it out because I didn't want to do it again because I did it before with the developer. Well, developer. You know what? We'll do developer just to look at it. Sure, here we go. So just look at it. So we see all this logic here to edit a developer, right? So to edit a existing developer account. Let's say our admin has the rights to also edit a developer. That's the wrong one. This one, sorry. This one. We want to make sure that our admins can come in and also edit this, that they can edit the cohort, they can add languages on behalf of another developer. Doesn't sound great, but again, hypothetical. We don't want to have to add this same logic again on that other controller, do I? I already have the logic for editing a developer, right? So it'd be kind of annoying to have to take this exact same code into another controller, right? But I can't put this logic in the repository, can I?
No,
Why?
because it's an interface.
Interface.
Hey, good. You guys understand it? Yes, we can't put logic in the interface. And that's where a service comes into play. A service contains the logic of the routes, the business logic for the routes that is repeatable in other controllers. So that way we can put all of our update logic for updating a developer in the developer service. And that way the route will then call that updater and send the data that it wants to send. So that way both the developer controller and the administrator controller can both run the developer updater, but only have one instance of the logic. So that's where a service becomes useful. If you find yourself doing similar actions in multiple controllers on the same repository. So you create a service that contains that logic, and then the routes just call that logic. Sound good? We see that kind of concept? So pretty much all it would do though is that all this logic here would go into the service, and then the route would just call that method. The what is it? Find by ID and update. That's probably what this one we call find by ID and update. Yeah, that's what I would call it. And we would send it the ID and the updates just like we got here. And so then the service would then again pull the developer, update the information, and then return the developer after saving it. And then the method here would just return that developer. All right. So that's a service. It just contains the logic. All right. And this is a common system you see in more complex Spring Boots. And because JSON Web Security, or not JSON Web Security, but Java Web Security, or Java Security, Spring Boot Security, that word. So many different words right now, so many different keywords. Spring Boot Security is a complex Spring Boot system. It does utilize services instead of controllers and repositories. And so it has a user detail service. And we need to, it's again, an interface though, because the user detail service is an interface because of course Spring Boot Security has its own default user detail service, but we have the ability to override it by implementing our own user detail service. And we want to because we want JWT to manage that. Now we're going to see what that looks like. So we're going to do a new package again. This is going to be our service package. So in your system, if you want to actually do some services, if you realize that they might be beneficial, you put your services in the service item. All right. Job class, we'll do JWT, user details. We implement the user detail service from our framework security, from our Spring security system. All right. And what we're doing here is we're overriding everything that is being done by, the user details done by, what am I looking for? Spring security.
You have to put is this one have an annotation of service or component? Or do you need any?
It's a service. Oh, right. Yep. That was one thing I forgot to put in. Service.
Yeah, I didn't
You
know
need
if
to
this
tell
was
it.
a repository that you need to add that or not.
It is. You're right. I would have noticed when I ran it, or I would have forgotten. And I would have been like, oh God, or I would have noticed it at some point and added it. Yep, I have it in my notes. All right.
Because it's interesting that you have to do that one, but repository you don't have to. That one could be optional.
Yep.
Anyhow.
I think they both are used to do dependency injections, both of those annotations when you run the application.
Yeah. Again, yeah, it's where Java or Spring Boot is going to know what this is in order to utilize it and inject it correctly. So yeah, you're 100% right on that, Colin. This has a connection to dependency injection. It's able to inject or add this class correctly to the Spring Boot application. Make sure it's implemented correctly. Let's do this. So we're gonna do an override. Click details. Load user details by username. Again, this is an override, so the method name is the method of the user details service. So just go with it by that. String user name. Throw a user not found exception if we don't find it. All right. All right, we're gonna do something. We're gonna do something static for the beginning. All right, because we haven't connected it to anything yet. And do I want to do that?
What can I find user details service?
What?
I can't, like my system can't implement.
Details service.
Yeah, no, it's cannot resolve symbol. I'm a little lost here with this. Yeah. All right, we'll figure it out.
Your
Same thing. Like I didn't want to slow everybody down, but the same thing happened to me with the claims and a bunch of things there. I could not.
Make sure in your build.gradle you have these two in.
Yeah, I did.
And you ran the project once that it did actually build the Gradle again. It has to build the package once.
That's what I didn't do.
Yeah, run your application once.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of errors now, so it's probably gonna crash. I probably should comment out the new
You
packages.
should still be able to run it, so it'll at least do the build.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll crash, but it'll at least run the build. Yeah, mine won't run either.
And that was the one thing I didn't do the initial run, huh?
I probably forgot. I probably should have told you guys to do it because I ran it, but I didn't tell you guys to do it too.
Okay.
It doesn't build. I think though you can do a build. I know there's a way to do a Gradle build.
Yeah, there is a way of doing the without actually running the
Right. I'm trying to remember where that is.
It's just pulling the user details configuration.
Under
shit.
I thought it was like under file prod. Oh wait, maybe
You just want to build without doing run. So build project might do what we want. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't remember where that is. If anyone remembers, if anyone has done a Gradle build without actually doing it, go ahead and let us know, but I don't remember right now. But
all right.
thinking we might do a, don't want to do a static one. I haven't brought in, I haven't connected it to the, you don't have a user controller yet. So yeah, we probably, how do I want to do this? As you can see here, load user by username is going to get us a username, and we're going to load that user account. So we can then run comparisons, we'll do password checks and all that stuff as well. So this is going to change eventually. Going to add the password most likely to this.
Try, in the project name, try to right click on the project name in the window.
I guess back to project.
Yeah. Is there a thing to rebuild? Yeah, rebuild Gradle dependencies? There's
I have a
rebuild
rebuild module.
Yeah. Refresh dependencies. Is there refresh dependencies in here? No.
Not
Oh,
here. No. Again, something we
Okay.
can look at later. I'm just trying to decide if how I want to move forward on this because yeah, my project. To be honest, my project where I tested this on is not a Geeky Likes. It's Dev Connector, which is different now. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to introduce this to you. I'll make sure I do it right.
Why is it still giving you why is line 9 still giving you a red?
Because I haven't finished the method. So the implementation of user detail service isn't done yet until I finish this method. I need to finish this method before it won't be happy until this method works.
Oh, it
Or
needs,
until it's completed.
it
It
needs one
that
method
method.
in there to make it
Yeah.
happy.
Yep.
Okay.
I just don't know what I'm missing with mine. Like I don't like I couldn't import anything like IO. Like if as soon as I hit import IO, it's just immediately the system is like, what is this? What is this you're trying to? And I'm like, I'm trying to see what the heck is it I'm missing because I've been following along thus far.
All right, share screen.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, I mean, I got again. I know we're. Hold on. So like you see here like claims it's just not. And if I was trying to look at what you have up top, and then I saw that you have a couple IOs, and I was like trying to do that.
So go back to claims on one of them, like the first time you see claims.
Here?
Yep. Get rid of the S.
What claim?
Yep. Get claim and then type the S again. Let's see what we got here. Let's see the package. Interesting. And go back to build Gradle.
My builder.
Yep.
Maybe something I didn't copy right here, probably.
Whoops.
And I did run it like
So right click on build Gradle, the file. Not that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What,
Right there, yeah. Right click on that. So we go do anything new. Can you click the build module app? Just click build. Down where's my annotations?
Build model.
It's usually on the bottom on IntelliJ. For some reason, I don't see it on his.
No, it doesn't
I
always
tried
pop up
to-
right
I
away.
would
I've
try,
seen it before too, but yeah, right click on it again.
I'd also try reload from disk.
Nah.
If that one doesn't work.
And then click on
Build module?
this. Yeah. Click that.
Hmm.
Oh, this is like the what I was trying to do. What we're currently doing with the user detail. You see, like that's all I get.
It hasn't loaded any of those items.
And I ran it once.
Hold on. Yeah.
So either comment that out or just finish the line. So just to make it
Where is it? User details service. That's it.
On the build Gradle, try to delete everything and put it again, because that happens to me. And when I did it
True.
again, it downloaded
Good
the
point.
package.
That might work. Yeah, go back into build Gradle.
Just gonna
No. Just
not
those two.
everything.
Just those two
those
lines.
two.
Oh,
Because I see that they're green. So yeah, because they have the green highlight next to it. So
Do a
copy those
Control
two.
X.
Yeah.
this two.
Yep. Control X.
Okay.
Backspace. Nope.
Oops,
Okay,
sorry.
one time actually. Sorry. I didn't realize it was going to do the whole thing. I'm going to say click away. So close another file or close that file. Close the file.
No, you can just
I know.
copy it
I just
again.
wanna-
It's gonna show
I
up an
wanna-
icon.
I want to
Exit?
force it. Just
Exit?
that file. Just that file.
What file?
The build Gradle file. So on the upper
Just
right on
close
the
it.
tab, just click the X. Yeah. I want to be very explicit with with IntelliJ right now. So
Yeah.
I know it's probably excessive, but I like to be sometimes excessive on things.
Hey, no, no
So,
such thing.
yeah.
You never know.
So yeah, we probably don't need to close it. I'm fairly confident we don't at all. Then yeah, click after the USB one,
Okay, right here.
enter or web. Sorry, USB. That's the USB.
And
Paste.
then I'm gonna paste. Yes, sir.
You can do a save, file save all.
Yeah, force a file save
Right
too,
there,
just to make sure.
there's a tiny elephant on top on the right side of the screen. Click
That's
on
what we want
that.
actually. Yes, I just saw that too. So on the upper right, I'm gonna grab my annotation right there. Click
Right
on the
here?
elephant. Yes, click him. That's what I was hoping to find that thing. Because
Now
that's gonna
it's
do the
on
Gradle.
download in the package.
Yeah, that's what we want. There we go. Build system. There we go. Finally, thank God. Now go back to one of them. Let's go back to our JSON token first. Yeah, here. Get rid of the S.
No, I can import class now.
There we go. Okay, cool.
Oh
Nice.
my god. The rest I stopped
That's
at
not-
one
that's
point.
not- you're
I'm
missing the
missing
S, you're
other,
missing-
I'm missing other stuff
Hold
here.
on, hold on, hold
because I
on, hold
stopped.
on. Right here, you're missing the S. Put the S in.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good. That's already imported. We're here. Parser.
Yeah, hold
Same
on,
thing.
I gotta hover. Parser.
Because I don't think you imported GWST. I don't think you imported this guy yet. So yeah.
Oh, let me do this. Let me do this.
Backspace.
Right,
You have a
that-
space now. You have a space. There's a space between GWTS and the dot.
No, yeah, but I mean,
So-
I just wanted
yeah.
to force an import. So
That's
if
fine,
I hit,
yeah.
if I hit this.
Oh,
right,
GWT IO. Make sure you get the right one though. You imported the right guy. I think you imported the wrong thing.
Okay,
That's the second
IO.
one.
That's the one I'm gonna do. Okay.
Nope, that's not right. That didn't import it right. I don't want to do it like that. I want to actually import it. So undo, scroll up. Oh, what is this? Get rid of that. That's what's breaking it. It decided to create the variable for you because it couldn't import it, so it created a variable. Scroll back down. Now go to the S or import class. There you go. Import class.
Here we
Yay.
go.
And then that should be fine. Right?
There's two signing keys there. It
Go
just-
for it, Aaron. That's fine. I'm recording, so you're good.
So those two signing keys that I had, one was like for a byte and the other one was for secret, for a string, but
Is that
Well,
supposed
click
to be
on-
set signing key?
Set signing key. You're right. Yep.
Whoopsie doopsie. Ah, man, if I hold on. If I do this, it's just gonna override everything. There we
There
go.
you go.
Okay,
Yep, that's fine.
That's me.
Next one. So user detail. Let's import that one now. Import class. And then here. Yeah. No, we do. That's a method we wrote. Actually, we wrote that method. You don't have that.
Okay, no,
method.
yeah, that I'll copy from because again, at one point I was like, you know what,
Okay.
like, just wait, and now
All right. Now let's go to the JWT user detail service.
Yeah.
Let's import that guy. Cool.
Okay, I've learned a lot from life.
Import that one now.
Yep.
All right.
Okay,
And then
and
we'll go
that's
back to
where
my
we were.
code so you can
That's
follow
that's
along.
where
Yep.
we were. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I'm also trying to modify my notes, which are doing its own project to our existing project. So we're probably just going to finish this last little bit and then we'll stop for the day and recover. And we'll probably look at this code again on Monday. So there won't be any homework other than working on your project some more for the moment. That's not my comment. That wasn't me looking up an error message for him. Where's my notes go? There they are. And how do I want to do this for the moment? So we're not going to utilize our puzzle system yet. We're not going to look up the user yet for the moment. So haven't created our user model yet. I'm going to do a string. So we're just going to create a single user that isn't one of our developers yet, just to mess with this. And I'm going to paste this line here because this thing needs a hash in the second field for the user class from Spring Security. So we're going to use the user class from Spring Security for the moment. And then we're going to switch to our user class when we create one, but just for the moment, just to make sure we see this thing work. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put this in Zoom so you guys can reuse it. Class. That's what I want, right? Yeah. We use the user class from Spring Security for the moment, just for the moment. An extra curly bracket. That should be all it needs to override. Oh, you load user, not details. Why did I do details? I don't know why I typed that. That's not what it's supposed to be. Whoops. You load a username by a user by username. My bad. That was my mistake. Sorry about that. All right. So for the time being, we're just going to temporarily use this. We have a user account we can use just for the moment. All right.
Where do we get that password?
I'm going to save it with. I'm going to share it with you guys. This is a encrypted password.
I think each one gets different ones though.
What's that?
I
Oh, wait,
don't have. Yeah,
wait.
I'm not getting one anymore. I got one once.
You
when I
won't. You
first
won't. You won't.
created-
You won't. Yeah.
Oh,
We're
okay.
not- this is not that. See, it was different.
Oh,
But you know, actually, I'm
I
just going to
noticed
put
it
a.
now, that was different.
Yeah, I'm just going to put password. I don't
Okay.
need that fancy thing. We're just going to give it a fake password for the moment.
Cool. Thank you.
So, yeah. I don't remember why my tutorial decided to put something fancy like that, and I just copy pasted it. I'm like, maybe this is important, and I realized it wasn't.
Trying to keep up, and I saw that nonsense. I'm like, oh
Yeah, we're not doing that. Like, no, never mind. Yeah, we're going to pick this up one day in a second, but I think I want to see if I do a quick controller. Just so you guys can see it work. That will actually create it. Yeah, let's do a quick controller now. See this. So again, we're right now taking advantage of the springboot user. We're gonna make our own user class later, but I want to take advantage of the Spring Security user class for the moment. And again, we might just stick with the user because again, user has username and password. We don't really need much else except for the we do need to connect it to our profile. We'll see. Maybe we'll keep using the Spring Security user model, but I'm tempted to have us make our own. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. Because again, my notes, I kept the user one, but for us, I wanted to make our own. But we'll see. We'll decide. And I have the weekend to decide what I want to do. Because today I decided not to create a new project. So I want to see if we can get through this quickly. But again, if over the week, if on next week you guys decide this doesn't make, you're having trouble adding it, so you're not gonna be able to have time, you're not gonna add it this weekend, but over the next week, if you guys struggle to add it, we can do Thursday as a way of just creating a secured thing with just a simple couple of routes that are secured and unsecured. We'll try to make a simpler version so we can understand just these key pieces. I figure you guys are gonna probably watch this video again over the weekend, go for it. But let's go ahead and create a quick controller. Any more time for this? I realized I copy and pasted it and you guys are typing it. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds to catch up on this. You can also just put user not found. You don't need to put all the details here if you don't want to. You can just put 404 not found or just not found. So don't have to type it all out. Again, what we're doing here is we're just saying, hey, if we log in with Java username, we say that user exists and we return it. What we would actually do is we would go ahead in this system. What we would actually do is we would bring in the user service that we have. If we had our own user account system, we would bring it in. We would create that user. So this is going to be part of that creating a user item. Right now, we're just saying, hey, if they load a username Java in use, we return that user that doesn't exist in a database. We're just going to create the user record in memory. What we would want to do actually, though, is like I said, we would actually go ahead and check our user repository, our user database to see if this user exists and then pull them out. We don't have that yet, so this is just an inline user. We can just put in an if statement for every single user we have. The main thing to keep in mind is that we have to give Spring Security a user item with a username and password. So no matter what, we are going to return a new user. We're just going to give Spring Security specific information. So that's what it wants. Spring Security wants a user detail. All right, user details. And user details it needs to be a class that also implements user details. So if we do create our own user table, that user table must be a child of the user details class. This is actually is an interface, so just has to implement user details. Cool. All right, so it's an interface, right? So if we decide to create a user class of our own, it must implement user details. So if we, just for the fun of it, while you guys are still copying, I'm going to do this in the second tab, I'm going to do the command click. You can see on the side here. So the user class extends something called granted authorities, but that's what I care about. I was expecting that to be an extent. unless the granted authority system is also a, is that the method? Oh, that's the constructor, isn't it? That's constructor. Hold on. Here we go. There it is. That's the line I was looking for. Like, wait, I know what I'm looking for. Right. I was looking at the constructor, not the class. So you see here, user implements user details. And that's why we can return user here when the method requires a user detail. So we can create our own version. We want to create our own user. It just needs to implement user details. Again, we might look into that, or we might just, to keep this thing easy for you guys, to keep authentication easy in the beginning, we might just utilize user method, because I'm trying to think what is going to be the best for you guys to get through this with enough of you to be dangerous without overdoing it. I'm kind of considering now, looking at the time frame between now and the next break, do I really need to teach you guys how to create your own user for you to use this? And I'm thinking we don't necessarily need to, potentially. Again, haven't decided yet. Any more time for this?
I'm good.
All right. Let's create that quick controller now. So new class. We're going to call this a AWT authentication controller. This is going to be a @rest controller. Origin in there. No mapping for the moment. We'll add that later if we need it. All right. Now this is going to be some items again that we're kind of just bringing in from JSON, not JSON, Java Web Security, because again we're trying to override the default behavior of Spring Security. So auto wired. Manager, and I'm showing it on the manager. There we go. Manager. Wired. WT till.
Don't you have to also put services on that one too?
What's that?
Don't you have to also put services for that?
For what?
Oh wait, you're not using. Oh, you're not using the services yet. No, you're not.
Nope. And then AutoWired does that without needing it. So if you do AutoWired, the service is automatically marked as a service. You can see that here, right? Yeah. AutoWired will take care of that. So as you can see here, JWT, user detail service, no @service needed. The AutoWired takes care of that. Trust me, AutoWired has been very helpful to have that, because in the past there was a lot of annotations. AutoWired has saved a lot of annotations. So just be happy you guys have AutoWired. It saves you guys a lot of work. All right.
This stuff is so amazing, like how Spring does so much of this stuff.
It does. And again, I know that at the beginning it could be a little like, on one hand, it's a little annoying because you don't know exactly what's happening and how it's exactly working. But as long as you understand that you have these items and that Spring Boot is helping you out a bit and saying, hey, I will set this up for you so you can use it, that's all you need to know. Instead of us setting this up with constructors and stuff and equal signs and all that stuff, this is going to handle it automatically. It's going to create the constructor for us. And that's what's really, really cool and really, really helpful for this stuff. Yeah, it's fascinating how much Spring Boot can do for you. And again, I'm only scratching the surface of all the annotation that you can put to have Spring Boot do more for you. So I'm going to use request mapping. Wait, no, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Post mapping. I'm going to do post mapping / authenticate. We'll put the API call in there as well. API / authenticate. All right. I'm going to do public. I'm going to go ahead and do response entity. And here's a little trick for the moment. If you don't know right away what it's going to be, you can just put a question mark, because it'll be anything then. It's just going to have some sort of content in there. You don't necessarily have to clarify unless you want to error in case you get something different. I forgot about this little trick because I've been doing a lot of strict typing. Or this can be a little more open. What this allows us to do is say whatever we want in the first item in the first item. So we can include whatever we want, whatever object we want in that first one. We don't know what it's going to be. So response entity, and then create. Body. And that's going to include a notes having issues. Come on, notes. Wait, I think I forgot a class. Oh, I did, didn't I? No, I didn't. No, I didn't create the JWT request yet, did I? I did not. All right, those are out of order. I don't have enough time to do this because yeah, we didn't create a body for authentication yet, did we? We didn't create an object that our thing can accept. I skipped. Dang it. That's what happens when you run out of time. We want to have a JWT request object, which is going to include well, what we usually want when we have someone log in or create an account. What do we need from them?
Username and password.
Yep. We need a class that has a username and password. But it's not a model because again, this is a item that already exists. This is just a class. I'm gonna do this on Monday. Dang it! I wanted to have more time for this. You know what? I think we're gonna end this here, unfortunately, because I'm gonna keep you guys for way longer, and I don't need to do that right now. What did I just do? Oh, click them. We're gonna click on. Took too long at the beginning with the reviewing your guys' projects. Shouldn't have done that. Yeah, we're already hitting 10 o'clock. All right. That being said, we're gonna go ahead and comment that out for the moment. And this up. Code at least valid. So nothing we can test today. This is what sucks with having partial breaks and stuff like that, because it really messes stuff up. If we had all 3 days, this would be fine. We'd have the whole, we wouldn't be stopping at such an awkward point. Unless you want to do 30 more minutes. It's up to you guys. 30 more minutes, you guys want to end it?
I'd love to, but I got work in the morning.
That's what I figured. All right, let's end it here. This is a okay spot. So just TLDR, quick recap of what we did so far. Make sure that we're not all like out of it and missing. So we brought in our packages. We added our secret token. And our big item was just our utility, the JSON Web Token utility. That is what's allowing us to create and validate our JSON Web Tokens. This is how we encrypt and decrypt our tokens. So we can pull a username out of it. We're able to generate that token. And we're able to actually build it. And then also validate that token is valid. Again, only reason I did it, just again to clarify, the only reason I did this dynamic system here, just so you have this get claim with the T here, was just so that you can bring the expiration system in. I want to make sure you get this expiration system in instead of us creating 2 versions of this item. We're just going to be able to use this method for both these 2. So, or for these 2, sorry. So we can use the same item here for both of these. And that's the key item. That's why I did this version. Otherwise, I could have just done a simple string get subject claim from token and could have just done this stuff. So I could have done it simpler, but I wanted this. I wanted to make sure I got this. So yeah, so I would put claims, get subclaim right here. So I could have done this line right here after this inside of this method. So all these 2 lines could have gone in here with this variable right here, just being the claims get subject. So, or sorry, claims resolver would have been this. Sorry, this one, get subject. Yeah. Yep. All right. So I didn't have to do it this way, but I could have. But I want to do it that way you can add in the expiration system easily by just uncommenting code. That was the main purpose of this, was that you can just have commented expiration systems, and all you need to add expiration to your system is to uncomment them. Again, we're not using expiration in ours, but if you want expiration to yours, because let's say you're doing, I know some of you guys are doing like stock trading stuff. You got lawyers, which is like, some of you are building applications that are a little bit more secure, meaning a little more higher security. So you might want expiration. At the same time, you might not. I know, like, what was it, Keith? We talked about a Chrome extension that wouldn't help if every time they clicked on that Chrome extension, they had to re-log in, right? No. So you might not want expiration on it, but at the same time, maybe you do. And maybe once a month, they have to re-log back in. Who knows? But those are things you can figure out and deal with. Let's say you do want it, but in the beginning, a lot of times for me, beginning, I don't want expiration. When I'm testing, I don't want to have to keep logging in. So I usually disable expiration while I'm testing, and eventually I might bring it back in. So I want to make sure you had that code in your class there. So we added that, and then our detail service is just overriding the default user detail service to use our JSON Web Token system. So we can actually utilize that, and you'll see how that goes shortly. We haven't actually overwritten the default behavior of requiring people to log in yet. So do be aware of that. We haven't actually added that code in there to say, hey, these routes are public and these routes aren't yet. So just be aware that we haven't done that yet. So this will still pop up as requiring a login from that login page. I understand. So, should. Anyway.
You can have a like a token that will expire if a user hasn't done anything, like say in an X amount of time, and then if the user does it, just refresh the token and continues the session, right?
That requires a little more effort because you would have to have some way to update the JSON Web Token's expiration date, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, not quite. And how you would do that is you most likely would have the front end handle it, or not really. Yeah. You could have the front end delete the token after a certain amount of time of not using it. So you can actually set an expiration date to the local storage, not to the JSON Web Token. The JSON Web Token will not expire.
Oh,
what you can do,
storage. Yeah.
The front end can kill it when it can delete it from memory when it passes expiration. If there's a certain, in that way, as they're navigating the site, you can just keep changing that local storage data point.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they don't delete. But yeah, the next time they visit the site, when they pull that local data, when they pull the token, they can also pull that and say, hey, is this time frame out? Yep, okay, they haven't logged in long enough. We're not actually going to use this JSON Web Token and kill it. And so you have to get a new one. Even though that JSON Web Token is valid, you can require the person to get a new one. It's similar how on GitHub for example, you go in there, you're already logged in, but as soon as you had to go something in the securities in the actual options or something, or you try to do something that they're like, we need to validate that you're you. They are actually, the token you're using, the authentication you have is valid, but they're forcing you to get a new one because they want one that's more recent, since you're going to do something more secured. So same concept in that concept. It's the front end that's forcing you to get one because the token you have is technically valid, but they want you to get a new one because they want one that's more recent. At the same time, though, you could also change this to just look at the issued at token. So you could do backend though, but looking at the issued at as well. But if you want to just say, oh, you're doing something more secure, we need a newer token. So those are two other ways you can handle it, which I'm going to actually stop sharing the screen now, so I can talk about those two things. So yeah, there's again tons of different ways you can handle authentication, validation, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's as well for security though, by just changing those things.
So you have permanent login, you're always logged in. You have timed inactiveness, which again, that's going to be handled by the front end because there's no way to change the content of a JSON Web Token without changing the JSON Web Token. Because as soon as any content of the JSON data is changed, the token hash is different. So the expiration date changing will change the token. So you can't change the expiration date on a token if you set an expiration date. So be aware of that. But like I said, the front end can say, hey, we've had this token since for 3 days and you haven't navigated on the site to update this expiration. So we're going to actually say you're good. Your last action was at this time and we haven't seen any action since then, where even though this token is valid, I'm not going to use it because it's been so long since you've last been here. At the same time, you can also do what's called a stagnant token concept. So you can have a token, every token has an issued at time frame where you date when it was issued. and the backend can say, hey, you're trying to do something more secure. This is a very secured activity you're trying to do. You're trying to change the password, for example. You're trying to add a friend or add a security person or something like that. I need you to relog in so we have a more fresh token saying, hey, this token is more than 10 days old. I don't want you doing this. So that's why when on, like I said, on GitHub, if you go to add a collaborator to a repository, it'll ask you to log in. But if you add a second collaborator, it won't ask you because your token's new enough. But if your token's more like, I want to say like 5 days old, it'll ask you to log back in, or like an SSH key. When you go to add an SSH key, it tries to ask you. But if you try to add a second one, it won't ask you because your token's new enough. Does it make sense? So there's a lot of different things you can handle with tokens, which is really, again, authentication itself, it's a whole other thing you can get into. But I'm just trying to, again, give you kind of a basic level of understanding about it so that you can at least go into this company understanding the basics of authentication so you can learn how they handle it and understand their way. Sound good?
Mhm.
So again, we'll kind of we'll retouch a bit on this stuff in on Monday. What I can say for your homework, if you want to, is make a branch of your Expressing app and add these items to it, even though we're not done with them yet. So you can at least add these items, make sure that it at least works. I say make a branch for it, so that way it doesn't break your existing version. If you do want to add, if you still need to add some other stuff to it, but overall for the homework, you can keep working on your personal projects for now. Sound good?
Mhm.
But also, I would recommend rewatch this video and understand what we've added so far. Just get a second review of this. All right. I don't think we went off on too many tangents today with non-code related stuff. So should be good. I will see everybody on Monday. Sorry for going a little late on you guys, but it'll be fine. This is important stuff. Matt, go sleep.
I wish. I have to stay up another hour to wait for my neighbor to park in the driveway. So
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, get ready for bed. How about that?
Wait, that's gonna stay up another hour. Let's continue.
no, hold on. My internet just went out. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm going through a tunnel. Hang on.
Hour. I mean, what the hell, no?